What is going on, Cosmic Crew? Welcome back to the channel. Today, a cast member from Avengers Doomsday has revealed quite a bit about Avengers Doomsday, probably too much. Kevin Feige probably has that sniper on him right now. A lot of people are talking about this, but I actually think what he's saying, not only does it does reveal a lot, but I think it actually backs up a different plot leak that we heard before, which I'm excited about because I really wanted at least a part of that plot leak to be true. But I do think what he says confirms part of it, if not the entire plot leak that we've heard before. He does reveal a lot about him working with other characters, and it's Kelsey Grammer who plays Beast. So let's get into it. I'm surprised. Well, I can't say I'm surprised he was allowed to say all this because I don't think Kevin Feige would have let him, which is why I believe he is saying all this on purpose. You've heard me say that a lot. I think a lot of this is very intentional marketing, but here's what he had to say in an interview with Entertainment Tonight.
To come back as Beast, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about, but it was fun to interact with people I hadn't acted with before.
Who were you most geeked out to interact with?
You know, Thor, and you know,
Thor,
I'm a big fan of Robert Downey Jr.'s. I love him, and
you get to share a scene?
it's sort of sharing a scene.
Sort of.
I don't want to go too far. And I really had a great time with the new guy from Fantastic Four.
The new guy.
Pedro, Pedro.
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro, wonderful guy. I mean, I really enjoyed hanging out with him, and we worked together.
Together.
Worked together. You shared a scene in some capacity.
Yes. So, okay, that's just hilarious right there. I do think this is... It's definitely marketing for Avengers Doomsday. Obviously, they're asking him about it, but obviously their publicists know what they can and what they can't say. And I believe him when he says, I don't want to spill too much, because I do believe they've told him what he can't say. But in here, he says several things that I think are pretty revealing. And like I said, I think they back up a different plot leak that we've heard before. But, you know, he says he geeked out about working with Thor. And I mean, Thor is my favorite MCU character along with the Scarlet Witch. I would geek out about that as well. And I really like Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, it would be super cool. But what's interesting is he talked about he's a fan of Robert Downey Jr., and he was asked if he got to share a scene with him, and his exact response was, it's sort of sharing a scene. I don't want to go too far, but what I think this is right here is when he says it's sort of sharing a scene, it means that he does share it, but he also shares it with a lot of other people. So obviously, I think this is a pretty big fight. What I believe he is referring to here is probably when Dr. Doom attacks the X-Mansion. The Insider Unbox PhD, they have been on set with their drone, taking a bunch of pictures. They have told us that there is a scene where Doom attacks the X-Mansion with Sentinels. He controls Sentinels using runes, and he attacks them. I think this is probably what he's talking about. So yes, he's in a scene with Doom because Doom is attacking and the X-Men are fighting Doombots, and I'm sure some are fighting Doom, and they go up against him. So it's not like directly, oh, it's 1v1 just Doom versus Beast, but it's a scene where, yeah, they're in the scene together, but maybe not, you know, the most direct sharing a scene way that they could possibly be in. And then I think there's obviously going to be a big battle. Will Beast be in that big battle at the end of the movie as they're fighting Doom to stop him from controlling the multiverse? We'll have to wait and see on that. But then he says something else that I think is very, very interesting. He says, I really had a great time with the new guy. And she has to tell him his name, Pedro Pascal. And he's like, from Fantastic Four. Pedro, yeah, Pedro. I love Pedro. Wonderful guy. I really enjoyed hanging out with him. And we worked, and then he stops and it kind of zooms in on his face. And he's like, together. We worked together. We shared a scene. Yeah, we shared a scene. This automatically made me think of a different leak that we heard that states that Beast, Reed Richards, and Shuri are going to work on a device that can confirm, or not confirm, but basically just detect when the incursion is going to hit, right? So it's the leak that we heard about, basically a countdown timer. And this was coming from the Insider Majestic. They've been reporting a lot about Avengers Doomsday recently. They have had some reports confirmed already, but a lot of them are waiting for the movie to come out. So take it with a grain of salt, although they have had some confirmed already. But this is the old report. According to Majestic, Avengers Doomsday will feature a global timer that appears throughout the movie, counting down the final incursion. The timer is connected to a device built by Reed Richards, Shuri, and Beast to track when realities begin to collapse. So that's automatically what I thought of when I heard him in this interview. He worked with Pedro Pascal clearly very closely, and we already know that Pedro Pascal and we assume the Fantastic Four are going to be there during a fight against the X-Men, right? Because Alan Cumming has already said that he fights, Nightcrawler fights Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic. It was weird how they filmed it, he said, because he wasn't actually there, so he was hitting kind of like props or just stand-in, people for him. So I'm curious to see what that scene is going to be like, because clearly they had to use a very specific type of way to film that, and they're going to use CGI, obviously. But it's very clear by what Kelsey Grammer said, by what Alan Cumming said, we're going to get the X-Men with the Fantastic Four and with the Avengers. So I think Kelsey Grammer is referring to Doom fighting the X-Men, and then after that, the Avengers, because remember, right now, the X-Men, specifically Kelsey Grammer's Beast, has Monica Rambeau. So Captain Marvel gets a team, goes over there to try to get her because they clearly detect her somehow. And I think Shuri probably has a lot to do with that as well. Maybe even Reed Richards has a lot to do with that, and they detect her there as well. And then finally, once we get the Avengers versus X-Men scene, which I'm just super excited about, but finally they all team up together and they realize Doom is the bigger problem, incursions are happening, and the brilliant minds of all of the teams get together. And those brilliant minds are Reed Richards, Shuri, and Beast. 3 brilliant minds from 3 different universes, which I think is just a really cool idea. And I also really love the idea of like a final incursion alert. I think that would add so much suspense to the movie. I think as it just counts down, it's a countdown basically until the multiverse is destroyed, right? We basically know Doctor Doom is going to win. So it's basically a countdown till he becomes God Emperor Doom, and we get Battle World. It's a countdown to literal Doomsday, which we learned has a double meaning. It's obviously Doom, right? His day, but it is also the Doomsday of the entire multiverse. So I think what Kelsey Grammer said here is actually backing up this leak that we've heard. And again, like I've said, Majestic has been, some of their reports have been confirmed true. So he really did spill the tea. He fights with, or it doesn't say he fights with Thor. He said he's a big fan of Thor. He got to interact with Thor. And I think that's after they all fight. We have actually heard that Thor gets involved because his, adopted daughter now, Love, since she was brought back to life by Eternity, and she has some powers of Eternity, she can actually detect the incursion happening as well. She tells Thor, and that's why Thor goes back to Earth, because they were off planet at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder. And hopefully we get just a better version of Thor in this movie. I really hope so. But I mean, so far, what we've heard and, the very minimum that we've seen so far, I think is really great. I think it's interesting that in this interview, what he said really does to me kind of confirm this leak. And it's like we talked about, I think yesterday, the Russo brothers have a display at their headquarters that shows Doom, Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm, and Franklin Richards all together, which I think backs up another leak that his old family from his universe, he was married to Sue and they had a son, Franklin. We keep getting things like this, and I kind of think they're on purpose. I really do. I think Marvel is they want us to not stop talking about Avengers Doomsday, so they give us stuff like this that I think is just very intentional. I think this was very intentional. I think they knew he was going to go on this, and they say, hey, beat around the bush. Don't say too much. You can say a little. Just give them enough. And they did. They gave us just enough. I'm excited for it. I really do think, at least I really hope, and it does seem like that leak is true based on what he says. Shuri, Reed, and Beast working together makes sense. They're the smartest minds of each universe, probably. Reed definitely is. You could probably say Shuri is. And Beast, he's a genius. Yeah. Right? Like, he's not just Beast. Like, he's a genius. We have to remember that. They work together to create a device that can tell them when the final incursion is going to happen. I think it's going to add a lot of suspense to the movie, and I love it. I really do. So I hope it's true. It seems like it's true, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel news. And you can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.